wow, our project RSX Resurrection is sounding great. You know, we got that cold air intake on there, we got our DC headers wrapped, we got the MagnaFlow exhaust. Of course I had to take it for a test drive, and I even nailed it a little bit. Big problem. We got some slippage. Nothing going on the front wheels. We should be smoking those things by now. We either have a clutch issue or we got some kind of hydraulic issue. Brian's going to do some diagnostics, but before he does that, let's just go ahead and dive in. Let's look at what a clutch does and even take a look inside of a manual transmission. The clutch starts right here. You got three pieces. You have a pressure plate, you got a clutch disc, and then it goes to the flywheel. And how it works, well, this is pretty cool. You got these fingers located right here. And what happens is when you push on your clutch, the clutch pedal is going to actually increase hydraulic pressure, and it's going to push on here with a throwout bearing. Now these fingers are very difficult to push, and when it does it, it's going to take this pressure plate and it's going to move it back. That disengages the clutch. When you let go, the fingers actually push forward like they are right now, engaging the clutch to the flywheel. Here's the clutch itself. Now the clutch actually goes right between the pressure plate and the flywheel. So what's happening, when it's engaged, everything's turning together. When it's disengaged, the clutch is allowed to slip inside there, and I can actually build it for you. You can see our transmission, I have a cutaway right here. I can put the pressure plate on first, and then I'm going to actually take the clutch, and it's going to spline to the input shaft. So it's part of the input shaft of the transmission. Then what? The flywheel's bolted to the engine. So it's going to go engine speed when it's engaged. When it's not engaged, it's allowed to spin inside of there. Now, RSX, we could have a worn clutch. There could be a problem there because we're slipping. We're not engaging. Now, what engages it is hydraulic fluid. Our RSX uses brake fluid right here and a master cylinder. Now, the master cylinder, it's located right up on the firewall of the car, and this bolts to the pedal. And what happens is you push the pedal, multiply force, comes down to the slave cylinder. The slave cylinder is bolted on there somewhere, and it's going to activate the fork, which is pushing in and out on that pressure plate. Now, check this out. We have a transmission here that's all apart. I told you. The flywheel splines here to the input shaft. So it spins, and what happens is it spins, nothing's going on with the output shaft, because the input shaft has no link to the output shaft. It actually goes down here, and you can follow the power flow. It goes down to a counter shaft, and the counter shaft goes through the whole transmission, and then those gears are splined to each one of the gears as you shift them. I can show you. I actually kick it to the left, kick that one in, spin it, and you get input and you get output. Or you shift into another gear. You're actually going to lock these gears to the output shaft, which gives you drive. Remember the fluid earlier? Just as important to service the manual transmission as well. The blocker rings, all these moving parts, bearings, shift forks, detents, levers, everything needs to be lubricated. Now, Brian's doing an inspection over there, but you know, we got him covered because CarQuest sent us the premium new clutch kit. And that's pretty cool because it comes with the pressure plate, which I highly recommend replacing them both no matter what, because you're already in there and it's a huge job. So we got a pressure plate, we got a clutch. They actually gave us a clutch alignment tool. It even comes with the throwout bearing and an actual pilot bushing, so that's complete. So no matter what he finds, we got him covered. Let's check him out in his diagnostics and see what he come up with.
Okay, well, the first thing we're going to do is a little further diagnostics. Now, I also drove the car this week, and I actually tried to start it a few times in second gear. Normally, if everything's working properly, it should stall, but it didn't, which tells me the clutch is definitely slipping. So we've established that. Now, the cause. So step one, I'm going to replace this slave cylinder, at least get the old one out. I can tell you down here at the connection on the slave cylinder, I see a little weeping of hydraulic fluid, so we may have a leak there. Now, I don't think that can get into the clutch pack in this application and contaminate it, but that's something to look out for. Once that clutch is contaminated, it's done. You've got to replace it. But in the spirit of Tech Garage, you know, we got to thank our guys over at CarQuest for sending us everything we need. I recommend we go ahead and replace the clutch, pressure plate, and the slave cylinder and really do this thing right. So let me get this old one out. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and leave the hydraulic line attached to the slave cylinder so that it comes up out a lot easier. It's a little less wrestling because down here, frankly, it's hard to reach. Okay, there's the second mounting bolt on the slave cylinder. It's ready. Now, if you look right here, you can see the hydraulic line. Let's backtrack it all the way up to the hydraulic reservoir. That ultimately feeds the slave cylinder. You push in the clutch, you get hydraulic assist, overcomes those forks that John showed you. Well, I'm going to take that line and work backwards here. And all I have to do is break it loose down at a coupling that we can reach real easily here with the cold air intake removed and the battery out. giving ourselves really good access. Let me split this coupling open. So let's remove this whole assembly and work it up out. Now, keep in mind, in this whole hydraulic to mechanical connection, we're really harnessing a little over 200 horsepower with our K20 engine. But John's about to show us over at Bernie's Speed Shop how they connect 4,000 horsepower through the clutch pack. So stay with us on Tech Garage, presented by Advance Auto Parts.